When you walk into a room, do you ever truly disappear? I don't. I haven't been invisible since I was 12. My name is Anna, and by the time I was 16, I stood at 6 feet 10 inches. I wasn't tall, I was monolithic. Every hallway was a gauntlet, every mirror a cruel joke. People didn't see me, they saw the ceiling-scraping giant. They didn't hear my thoughts, they heard the echo of my footsteps. This story is about the burden of being literally bigger than everyone else, the awkward hell of high school, and the terrifying price I paid to finally fit in. I was the subject of every whispered joke and every cruel nickname: Jumbo, Skyscraper, the Freak. The only thing my height seemed to guarantee was humiliation. Forget finding shoes, forget dancing, forget fitting into a car comfortably. My life was an endless series of head bumps, ill-fitting clothes, and perpetually hurting knees. Hey, if you're already captivated by Anna's story, please pause for just 1 second to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me bring these intense stories to life. And I have to know, if you suddenly became 6'10" overnight, how would you honestly feel? Would you rock it or would you hide? Let me know in the comments below. My height wasn't just a physical trait, it was a character flaw. It meant I could never be the girl who needed saving, never the one who was chosen. It meant being constantly strong, constantly awkward, and always alone. The only pro was grabbing things from the top shelf from my 5-foot-tall mother, which felt more like a pity chore than a superpower. One particularly awful incident cemented my desperation. It was the homecoming dance. I decided to take the terrifying leap and ask Leo, the sweet, quiet guy from math club, to dance. He was maybe 5'8". When I approached him, he looked up, way up, at me, smiled politely, and said, "I think I'd get lost up there, Anna. Maybe you should stick to guarding the door." The entire room erupted in laughter. I didn't cry, I just walked straight out, hearing the echoing thunder of my own footsteps retreating. That night, I swore I would give anything to be normal. I started seeking out solutions, falling down the rabbit hole of sketchy medical procedures and desperate online forums. Nothing worked. And then, one rainy Tuesday night when I was staring at my colossal reflection in the window, he appeared. He was standing across the street, illuminated by a sputtering streetlight. He wasn't overtly strange, just impeccably dressed in a dark suit, holding a silver-tipped cane. When he crossed the street, he moved without sound. He stopped directly beneath my window, looked up, and his smile didn't reach his eyes. I nervously opened the window. "Can I help you?" His voice was smooth, deep, and utterly devoid of warmth. "I believe I can help you, Anna. Your suffering has been duly noted." He knew my name, he knew my height, he knew my humiliation. He introduced himself simply as Mr. K. He didn't offer a miracle cure, he offered a transaction. "You wish to be normal, to disappear into the crowd. I can arrange that. I can take the excess, the burden, the scale of you. You will be 5'7", perfectly average." I laughed nervously. "What's the catch? Some kind of experimental surgery?" He chuckled, a dry, rustling sound. "No surgery, just a contract of scales. Your height is not just physical mass, Anna. It is potential. I will take the excess potential, and in exchange, you will receive the normality you crave." I was suspicious, terrified, but desperate. What is the potential? What do I lose? Mr. K merely slid a thin, ancient-looking scroll through the slightly opened window. "You don't need to know the specifics, only the consequences. For every inch I take, you will lose one unique pillar of your life's foundation. It may be a skill, a memory, or a relationship. The losses will be subtle at first, but they will be irreversible. You choose the height. I choose the price. He told me to decide by dawn. I barely slept. I looked at the scroll. The ink seemed to writhe. I thought of Leo's laugh. I thought of the endless pity. I decided the price, whatever it was worth the freedom. By 4 a.m., I signed the bottom line, scrawling my name in shaky handwriting. I requested 5'7". The scroll disappeared from my desk the second I finished. The week of the transition was a slow-motion torture chamber. Every morning, the measuring tape confirmed the loss. An inch gone, forever. The pain was not bone deep, it was nerve deep, a constant vibrating ache as if my body was being recalibrated against its will. The discomfort was compounded by the unsettling lack of curiosity from my mother and teachers. They simply adjusted their expectations of where my head should be, effortlessly weaving the new reality around me. It was terrifying how easily the world forgot the giant. By the time I hit 5'10", I could finally look my geometry teacher, Mr. Davis, straight in the eye without tilting my head back. That night, I sat down at the grand piano, the instrument that was my one true confidant. Music was my sanctuary, the place where my towering complexity found perfect nonverbal expression. I began the Chopin Nocturne, a piece I could play flawlessly, even half asleep. The first pillar fell. My fingers felt clumsy, my timing erratic. The profound connection, the effortless ability to translate complex emotions into perfect keystrokes, the genius was replaced by mechanical mediocrity. The music was flat, lifeless. I wasn't just losing height, I was losing the unique capacity for genius that my height had apparently housed. My hands moved, but the soul of the music was gone. I practiced for 4 hours, leaving the piano bench exhausted and heartbroken, realizing the genius was now just average talent. The humiliation of my height was replaced by the horror of my mediocrity. The losses accelerated. During a history test, I faced the second blow. I was known for my photographic memory. I could recall entire textbook pages, chapter by chapter. I confidently started answering a question about the Treaty of Versailles. Then a profound, deep void opened where the information used to be. Not a momentary lapse, but an absolute erasure. I stared at the blank page, panic rising like bile. The ability to retain and organize complex information, the superpower that compensated for my social awkwardness, was gone. I had to resort to guesswork, a humiliating experience for someone who used to ace every test with minimal effort. I felt intellectually hollowed out. Yet the social reward was immediate and intoxicating. People started calling me by my name, not my nickname. Boys made easy, casual eye contact, no longer intimidated by my altitude. I was invited to a party, an actual cool party. I was invisible, and it was glorious. I was Sarah, just Sarah. The sheer overwhelming relief of fitting into a crowd almost justified the growing cold knot in my stomach. What else would I lose? My average life montage was textbook perfect. I was popular, funny, and effortlessly charming. The awkwardness melted away. I moved with a graceful ease that had been impossible in my oversized body. I started dating Leo. He wasn't scared of me anymore. He saw me as a normal, desirable girl. He adored me, complimenting my cute, average height and my sweet, simple way of looking at the world. We went to the revived homecoming dance. I wore heels and fit perfectly into his arms. It was the perfect, average life I had signed for. But the price continued to chew away at the foundation. Then came the third loss, my relationship with my father. My father was a quiet, brilliant professor of philosophy. Our bond was an unspoken, intense connection, based on abstract thinking, shared inside jokes about quantum physics, and knowing glances nobody else understood. I remember the day vividly. I tried to talk to him about a strange philosophical problem, a concept we had developed together years ago. He looked at me with confusion. The brilliant light in his eyes dimmed. "Anna," he said gently, "that's what we discussed last month. Don't you remember the derivation? It was quite complex." I truly didn't. The capacity for understanding the complex idea, the ability to connect on that unique intellectual level, was gone. Our unspoken language disappeared. He didn't seem to notice the change. His brain simply accepted the new version of our conversations, filling in the gaps where my genius used to reside. I realized I had lost the capacity for abstract genius, and with it, the most important and meaningful relationship in my life. The love remained, but the connection was severed. The cost felt too high. I was popular, but I was shallow. I was dating Leo, but